Welcome back, focused learners, to another explainer. Look, if you've ever felt like you just absolutely do not have the time to maintain your flexibility, this explainer is going to change your mindset completely. Today, we're breaking down a highly efficient, incredibly effective daily mobility system derived directly from Sara Bulthra Yoga. Think of this as your 15-minute blueprint for daily minimum stretching. It's specifically designed to keep you healthy, mobile, and energized without totally eating into your packed schedule. For anyone dealing with that compounding stiffness of a long, sedentary workday, this targeted approach hits exactly where we tend to lock up. It's basically a direct antidote to hours spent hunched over a desk. Here is our game plan for today. We'll be moving through a structured progression. Phase 1 is standing stretches, Phase 2 is mat mobility, Phase 3 covers lying postures, and Phase 4 wraps it up with breath work. What's brilliant about this sequence is that it perfectly mimics the body's natural transition from a super active, energized state right down to a grounded, rested one. But the really crucial point to remember right up front is the number 10. You're going to hear this number a lot today, and that is entirely by design. 10 represents the rep count for almost every single movement, swing, and twist in this entire sequence. And the psychological benefit here? It's massive. By standardizing the reps across the board, the routine literally eliminates decision fatigue. When you're trying to build a consistent habit, removing the friction of having to remember complex rep schemes is vital. You just hit your 10 reps and you effortlessly flow right into the next movement. Now, the second vital metric you got to lock into your memory is 30. While 10 is for action, 30 signifies the seconds we'll dedicate to the essential resting and holding periods within the routine. It's this perfect balance of brief, intentional effort, followed by just enough restorative time to let your body truly adapt. Those 30 seconds aren't just empty waiting periods. They're the exact moments where active tissue adaptation actually occurs. It's when your nervous system starts settling from a stressed sympathetic state into a calm parasympathetic state of recovery. All right, let's jump right into Phase 1, standing stretches. We begin by standing tall against gravity to safely and dynamically wake up the lower body. By keeping a stable base with square, parallel feet, we can quickly run through a series of rapid-fire foundational movements, effectively working from the waist all the way down to the toes. We kick things off with hip rotations, 10 times each way, just to loosen up the center of our mass. Then, grab a wall for support so you don't even have to worry about balance, and move into 10 leg swings on each side to really lubricate that hip socket. Next, step one leg forward, pull those toes in, and hinge forward for a targeted hamstring stretch. Finally, you just grab an ankle, gently push the knee back, and hold for a dynamic quad stretch. It's just a complete, systematic awakening for your legs before you even think about hitting the floor. Moving right along to Phase 2, mat mobility. So, having warmed up those larger leg muscles, our focus shifts to actively opening the joints and, crucially, the spine. We start our mat work with Murjariasana. Now, while you might universally know it as the cat-cow stretch, seeing its traditional Sanskrit name is a cool reminder that we're translating centuries-old practice into a super efficient, modern spinal warm-up. Think about it. Your spine takes a massive compressive load standing and sitting all day. Moving to an all-fours position entirely removes that vertical compression, which lets us safely introduce essential flexion and extension to the spine without fighting gravity. To do this effectively for your 10 reps, you follow a very precise breath-to-movement coordination. You breathe in, push your navel down toward the floor, and look up. Then, as you breathe out, bring your chin tight to your chest and stretch the spine upward. Now, for us focus learners, it's absolutely critical to understand why syncing breath to spinal movement is vastly superior to just static stretching. Coordinating your inhale with extension and your exhale with flexion leverages your nervous system's natural responses. It actively signals the tissues around your vertebrae to release tension, rather than just awkwardly forcing them into a rigid stretch. From there, we transition right into arm reaches. Take one hand, reach it all the way up to the ceiling, and then cross it all the way down and under your body. For 5 reps on each side, again, timing it with your breath. Immediately following that highly active upper body rotation, you just drop your weight down into child's pose for a passive, restorative 30-second hold. This intentional contrast is incredibly powerful. The active rotation pumps synovial fluid into the shoulder joints, while the immediate passive hold allows all that surrounding musculature to deeply relax and soak up the benefits of that newly created range of motion. Next up on the mat is Baddha Konasana. The butterfly pose is heavily emphasized here for actively opening the hip joint. You bring the soles of your feet together, sit up tall, and rhythmically flap your knees like wings. By dynamically oscillating the joint in this externally rotated position, you're gently easing the hip capsule open rather than forcing a painful static pull. Once the joints are primed and the tissues are nice and warm, you slowly fold forward and stretch down. Honestly, it's a fantastic, super low-risk method for improving your long-term hip health. We close out the mat phase with Vakrasana, a really powerful seated twist. The setup is simple. Keep one leg straight, cross the other leg over the knee, and gently twist your torso to look behind you, holding for a targeted duration on both sides. This ensures we're targeting the back through rotation, literally wringing out the spine like a sponge. This specific rotational torque relieves deep-seated tension in the erector spinae muscles, and it perfectly sets up the foundation for our transition completely down to the floor. Which brings us to phase 3, lying postures. Now we lie flat on our backs. Gravity is completely on our side here, allowing us to safely isolate the shoulders and lower spine without an ounce of strain. We start this phase by exploring Supta Kapotasana, or the inverted pigeon. By placing one ankle across the opposite thigh and pulling the bottom knee close to your chest, you get a deeply effective stretch for the glutes and hips. Isolating these heavy glute muscles while the entire spine is supported by the floor is inherently safer and, quite frankly, often more effective than upright variations. It allows your central nervous system to totally relax, knowing your back is fully stabilized. Next, elevate your hips into a bridge pose, but we're going to use a brilliant variation specifically targeting upper body mobility. Keeping the waist lifted off the mat, first move your arms straight up and down like flapping wings for 10 reps. Then switch to making large arm circles, 10 in one direction and 10 in the reverse. Holding the bridge engages your posterior chain, but the real magic is happening up in the upper back. The arm movements specifically target scapular mobility and actively engage your rotator cuff, completely freeing up those shoulder capsules while your hips remain locked in steady isometric tension. We finish the physical stretching portion of the routine with lower spine twists. Extend your arms straight out into a T position on the floor, glue your feet and knees together, and just gently drop your knees side to side 10 times. It's a wonderful releasing movement that completely neutralizes the spine. If you spend hours sitting in an office chair, driving, or hunching over a screen, this specific lateral drop wrings out any remaining accumulated tension deep in the lower back and physically hits the reset button on your posture. Finally, we wind down with phase 4, breath work. Notice how the physical effort has gradually ramped down until it practically stops entirely, and we turn our focus completely inward. We so often forget that diaphragmatic flexibility is just as crucial as joint mobility. Training your primary breathing muscle is a physical requirement, not just some meditative afterthought. These 3 simple steps ensure you're actively engaging your diaphragm. Just place your hands on your stomach. As you breathe in, consciously push your stomach out against your hands. As you breathe out, actively pull your stomach in. Doing this for 10 deep, deliberate breaths trains the diaphragm to contract and release fully, improving your oxygen exchange and further downregulating your nervous system. The routine concludes beautifully with 30 seconds of pure, undisturbed relaxation. Just let your breathing return to normal. Take a final deep breath in, and when you're completely ready, slowly turn to your right side to sit up. It's highly suggested to take this quiet little moment to reflect. Maybe send a brief thought of well-being to your family and to yourself, establishing a calm, centered mindset before opening your eyes and tackling whatever the rest of the day throws at you. And there you have it. This is the transformation of a random list of exercises into the ultimate screenshotable cheat sheet for your daily life. 4 distinct phases, targeting everything from your legs all the way up to your diaphragm, all governed by the simple, totally frictionless rules of 10 reps and 30-second holds. It's structured, it's balanced, and because it minimizes decision-making, it is an entirely doable daily habit. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought. Look at how straightforward this sequence really is. Ask yourself how easily you can implement this minimal daily routine into your morning or your evening. You literally have the blueprint right in front of you. The only question left is, will you trade just 1% of your day to reclaim your mobility for the other 99%? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep learning.